What is going on, Only Play With Fans? We are back. It is Sweetcar and Shovit. Once again, we are 3 weeks away from draft, Shovit, so getting closer and closer, and we felt like it was a great time for us to give the people a mock draft, but specifically, I am Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and I am in charge of the Minnesota Vikings, and you are Omer Khan, in charge of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we are going to be putting our GM hats on. We're going to do a full 7-round mock of our teams. And we can talk through, a little bit about, before we jump into it, the offseason moves that they've already made, the offseason moves, the subtractions of who they lost, and that'll kind of give us an idea of what holes they still have on their roster that they'll want to attack in the mock draft. Shovit, how are you feeling 3 weeks before the big days here?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. If I'm Omar Khan, I'm probably feeling a little bit nervous, but also excited. So there's a lot of good players to go out and get, and so you can make a splash. And so I'm pretty excited. I can't wait.
I don't know how you feel about the Steelers offseason, but for me, I think the Vikings offseason was fantastic so far. Obviously, the biggest departures being the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins is gone. They lost their star edge rusher, Danielle Hunter. They lost 2 other edge rushers, Marcus Davenport and DJ Wanham. So you're looking at a room that didn't have a starting quarterback and didn't have their edge rushers, and those are 2 of the biggest positions of need in the NFL. Not to mention, they lost their starting kicker of the last 4 years, Greg Joseph, and they lost their play caller on the defensive side, Jordan Hicks. And lastly, they lost their number 3 receiver. So I'd say having, a pretty decent departure list in terms of impact players, it was a little bit worrisome to wonder if a lot of this was going to be addressed in the draft, if they were going to, really take a 2-year approach. But because of the money that freed up getting rid of Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter, all of a sudden they were able to make a ton of splashes in free agency, right? So you go out and you get Sam Darnold for a 1-year bridge contract. You go out and you sign Aaron Jones. You go out and you get Jonathan Grenard as your new edge rusher from the Texans on a huge contract. You sign Andrew Van Ginkel as another edge rusher, and then you go out and sign Blake Cashman as a linebacker. So all of those prevalent positions, they ended up filling those spots. Obviously, I don't think Viking fans want to go into 2024 with Sam Darnold as the only quarterback or the starting quarterback on the roster. So the draft's going to be really interesting to see what pieces they can fit into. Specifically, defensive tackle is somewhere they really lack. I think they could still use another cornerback. The wide receiver 3 spot is one that's intriguing, knowing how deep this wide receiver class is. And obviously quarterback, right? Quarterback is the number one thing. So for me, I think this is going to be really interesting to see how we can maneuver up in the draft to possibly take the quarterback we want, or if in fact, the cards fall our way and we sit pat at 11 and we have one of our choices of one of the top 4 quarterbacks. So I'm interested to see how it shakes out. How do you feel about kind of how the offseason's gone for the Steelers so far in terms of additions, subtractions, and where you see them really looking in the draft?
Yeah, for sure. But real quick regarding Sam Darnold, dude, I play Superstar on Madden, and I'm like on season 3 or 4 right now, and Sam Darnold's the starting quarterback for the Vikings, and he's like top 4 right now as far as like my NFL Superstar game is concerned. So I was like, hey, what?
I think Madden still has developmental traits for him, so that's why if he ends up putting up stats, he gets those developmental traits. So if that's any indication of what the future could hold, maybe Sam Darnold turns his career around. Who knows?
In terms of the Steelers, man, I feel like they've done a good job of setting up for the draft really well, like getting the key players that they need on specific positions, like the quarterback position with Russell Wilson, and then trading for Justin Fields, addressing that, not having to go through the draft on that. I think that was really smart. Our punter was terrible. We got one of the best punters from the Texans, Cameron Johnston. He's got his own highlight reel that I just was like gushing over watching punter highlights the other day. We signed our linebacker Patrick Queen from the Ravens. So that's a huge he's probably the middle linebacker 2 on the Ravens, but I think he's ready to step up and be that main middle linebacker for the Steelers. So hopefully he can step up there. Dante Jackson, we needed to address our cornerback position, address that. And then last year there was a lot of injuries with safety, and so I think the Steelers did a good job on that front as well, going out and getting Deshaun Elliott from the Miami Dolphins, assigned him into a 2-year deal. They also addressed the receivers, receiving core, not the best squad. I mean, we got Marquise Callaway, Quez Watkins, Van Jefferson, Cordero Patterson, as a
after trading away Deontay Johnson to the Panthers.
After trading away Deontay Johnson. Yeah. I mean, it's like if George Pickens can be that number 1 receiver, maybe he has a good surrounding crew, but I think that using the draft as getting another receiver, I think that's going to be smart for them. So all this to say that I think they've just done a really good job of setting up and going out for their needs that they need in this draft, which is offensive linemen, specifically a right tackle. They need a center. They lost Mason Cole, released Mason Cole. They also need to address their cornerback, get another cornerback. Dante Jackson was a guy that was going to get cut from the Panthers, and so he's probably not a reliable cornerback too. And a receiver, that's also a position that not the best guys outside of George Pickens, who we really don't know is going to take that next leap or not. So there's just receivers is something that it would be nice to have. So I think they target those four major things. The other positions, I think it's going to be best available is how they'll address that. So
that makes sense. I mean, I think the way you look at it is it's such a massive turnover, right? Last year you had 3 different quarterbacks for the Steelers start, and this year besides Pickett, the other 2 quarterbacks aren't even on the roster, right? Trubisky's gone and Rudolph's gone. And you have Pickett, who maybe on the depth chart's quarterback 3 behind Wilson and Fields. So it's just such a dramatic shift. And I respect it in the sense that, most franchises, when you take a quarterback in the first round, you're like, oh, we got to give him 3 years. We got to give him 4 years. But I think it was pretty clear with Kenny Pickett, he probably is not the answer. So for them to pivot really quickly, take the veteran, still take a flyer on Fields, who has, no real downside because you threw a 4th, 6th rounder to him. So it really didn't cost you much. And again, if he turns out to be nothing, well, it cost you a 6th-round pick, and if he still has some upside, then it was a very, very friendly trade for the Steelers. So I really, really love it. I think for me, if I'm you guys, my biggest question is absolutely the wide receiver room as well, because outside of George Pickens, it's kind of a ragtag group of guys, right? So, and we don't know that George Pickens can consistently separate and get open play after play, and we knew that Deontay Johnson could do that. So I think it's really, really going to be imperative that the Steelers attack a receiver in the 1st or 2nd round, depending on how the tackle market falls for them, because you're going to need at least one guy who for a fact can get open, play in and play out. And right now, I don't know that's George Pickens. Do we think that's Patterson? Do we think that's Van Jefferson or Quez Watkins? Probably not, right? So to me, that's where I look at for the Steelers. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at 20. So do you want to go ahead and just kick this thing off then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So 11 and 20. 7-round mock. I'm going to keep it at slow until we're in between the picks and I can push it to turbo. I don't usually ever mess with anything here. I don't know if you've played around with this at all. I found that when I leave it as is, it's the most predictive mock in the sense of like what's going to happen. So anything messing with any of this, I don't want it to say like, oh, Caleb Williams falls to 7. And you're like, okay, we're just doing a very unrealistic mock.
Yeah, that's funny you said that. I moved the public closer to PFF, and Jaden Daniels was available like in the 20th pick whenever I did the Steelers one. So yeah, I think you should leave it as is to make it most accurate.
All right, I'm going to leave it as is. We're going to enter the draft. Again, I'm going to leave it at slow because obviously what my intention is here as a Vikings fan. My goal is to try to trade into the top 5 to secure the quarterback of the future. And I truly think based on the landscape of the NFL, this is going to come down to draft day. I don't know that we're going to be able to secure a trade before the draft starts just because I have no idea in the sense of how these teams truly feel about these quarterbacks at the top of the board. But what I do know is they also understand that there's a bunch of teams that are coveting quarterbacks. So the price tag is really high. So either they're going to say the price tag is too high and these people aren't meeting those expectations. So they're going to go and sit there and pick their spot. Or if they aren't as high on these quarterbacks, they're going to try to upsell the shit out of these teams trading up. So I really don't know what's going to happen. But my goal, if I'm the Vikings, is I'm going to try to trade up to 3, 4, or 5, right? I think if you trade up to 5, you don't have to give up next year's 1st-round pick. If you trade up to 4 or 3, you may have to. So let's go ahead and start the mock.
Real quick, before you started, I was playing around with this, and this is really cool because you can kind of see how good your trade offer is. If you give the Bears your 1st-round pick and your 2nd-round pick and next year's 1st round, it should be like a 77% chance of you getting the trade for the 1st pick of the draft. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So while I agree, I do think there are definitely flaws in this PFF trade simulator because it's all going to be about demand, right? Right now on the charts, this seems like a valuable trade, but I would be remiss if there's not 3 1st-round picks and more if you're trying to trade up to the number 1 spot, specifically because the quarterback prospects are so strong. So
it's just fun to speculate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't think the Bears would trade with the Vikings, but that would be best case scenario. I would absolutely love to take Caleb Williams, which no shocker there. He goes number 1.
Mhm.
I'm going to pause here. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be the number 2 quarterback off the board. That would be what I would want in an ideal scenario because personally, I prefer Drake May or JJ McCarthy for the Vikings offense. So I'm going to let it run here. And Drake May. So Drake May goes off the board at number 2, which means Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy are still on the board.
Marvin Harrison at number 3 right here.
I mean, if I was their GM, I think I would be trading down to accumulate as many assets as possible because their roster is really bad and they just need to accumulate as much capital as possible. For this situation, I don't need to trade up because I'm not enamored with Jaden Daniels specifically as a fit for the Vikings offense, even though I love him as a prospect. And if they take him, I'd be freaking ecstatic. I just think that what he does is not what Kevin O'Connell wants. So I'm going to go out with the intention and hope that he gets picked here or it's a receiver and our quarterbacks fall. So there you go. Jaden Daniels goes number 3. Number 4 here, the reason why the Vikings don't need to trade up to the number 4 spot, at least in my perspective right here, is unless there's another team that is trying to trade up to the 4 spot, you have a good opportunity to let the Cardinals pick whoever because they're probably not going to draft a quarterback. And then you can try to trade up to the Chargers in the 5th spot and supersede the Giants, who also potentially may look at quarterbacks since Daniel Jones is not the future. Do you have thoughts there? Do you think the Vikings should be more aggressive and proactive, or do you think it makes sense to be reactive in this situation? Do you have a lean one way or the other?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to be reactive. I mean, I saw headlines that, Michael Penix is an option here. So maybe they're going to wait and get Michael Penix later, when the time comes or in the next round. So I think being reactive is the right way to do it. I don't know if you want to give up draft picks.
Yeah. So I think with the Cardinals, I'm going to let them go ahead and pick. They're probably going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and they don't. They take Joe Alt. They take the first tackle off the board. So all of the good receivers, which is a big concern to me, Shovit, because if Joe Alt goes off the board and you have Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping, in the eyes of the many, Marvin Harrison Jr. is like the number 1 prospect in the entire draft. So if you're getting him at 5, 6, or 7, why would these teams trade down when they can get a generational wide receiver prospect? Like, why would the Chargers not sit and pick Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with Justin Herbert rather than trade down?
I mean, that's like the biggest need that the Chargers need. So I cannot see them, like, you have to give them like 3 first-round picks for them to do that. I don't.
So the trade that I would offer here is you're giving up both of your first-round picks this year, right? And that already holds more value than getting a first-round pick for next year.
Oh, you got
so
2
you have
first-round
2
picks.
Yep, we traded up with the Texans. You have 2 first-round picks. You can go ahead and give them 5. I personally don't know that you need to give up anything more at the 5 spot. But what I do think we could do is we could try to play around with this a little bit. The Vikings don't, if they give up both of their first round picks and they pick at 5, they don't pick again till 108. And that's the 4th round. So my goal is to try to recoup this pick number 69. Now this mock simulator is going to say this is going to get accepted. And in no world do I think this gets accepted. So that's why I think we're going to have to throw in like a 157, something in the later rounds to give ourselves another day 2 pick, because we're losing a potential day 1st pick. And then at that point we would go 100 picks without picking. And I just don't see the Vikings wanting to do that. So looking on the board, do you think this is a fair trade to offer?
I think so. I just don't see it happening. I don't see the Chargers trading back because of the fact that it's Marvin Harrison that you're getting. I'm curious to know, if you get this 5th pick, who are you getting? Are you getting JJ McCarthy?
Absolutely. If we're trading up, you're trading up for a quarterback. So there's no doubt in my mind that I would be taking JJ McCarthy here. Now, do I think he's worth the 5th overall pick? No, but at this point, the top 3 quarterbacks have already gone. If we sit at 11 and the Giants take McCarthy, or the Broncos or Raiders trade up in front of us while we're sitting at 11 and we don't get the quarterback we want, I'm not happy in a world where we're having to settle for a quarterback because the guy we wanted gets taken because we were reactive. So if I'm the Vikings, and if I'm Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa and I'm Kevin O'Connell and I have somebody that I absolutely love, like, as KOC as a quarterback has to have 1 or 2 guys that he gravitates towards more than the other guys, right? So if he has his guys, I don't care if that guy ends up being Bo Nix, to be honest. If that's who KOC says is his guy, I want the draft to end with the Vikings getting who KOC thinks is his guy. I don't want it to be a world where we're settling, again, picking the best available quarterback because the top 5 quarterbacks or top 4 quarterbacks went in the top 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could trade with, like, if you look at the, later down the board, I don't know if any of these other teams would go out and get JJ McCarthy. Like the Giants might.
Definitely steam there.
Titans, I don't know if they do. Falcons definitely won't. So the Bears are the next team right there that you could trade with.
Bears wouldn't trade with the Vikings.
Actually, you might still get JJ McCarthy. I mean, it
The
boils down to whether or not the Giants get that pick or not. And I don't know if they are willing to get a quarterback first pick. I'd be remiss to believe that.
I don't think it's just that though, Shove. You're missing out the whole fact that a team after the Vikings could easily trade up and jump the Vikings. The Vikings could sit at 11 and the Broncos could trade up from 12. The Raiders could trade up from 13. We're forgetting of the fact that everybody can trade up ahead of us if we just sit there at 11 thinking we're going to get our guy. That's the problem. So it's not that, after the Giants, there's nobody on that board that's going to take a quarterback. Absolutely.
This is going to be
Falcons aren't, the Bears.
Crazy.
That's what I'm
saying. The phone
saying.
lines are going to be insane. Kwesi needs to make sure he's getting all notified of any sort of transaction that's happening if anyone of these teams try to jump up.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why I don't want to sit pat. That's why I don't want to rest on my laurels. That's why I'm going to go ahead and offer this to the Chargers, and they accept the trade. So we are going to go ahead and move forward with the number 5 pick, and we are going to take our quarterback of the future in JJ McCarthy. Come on down. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Actually, I'm not going to. Do you want to see a world where the Steelers may trade up in the first, or do you see that as not a very high likelihood?
I don't see that as likely at all.
Okay.
I mean, let's see. So
look, after JJ, you have a receiver, and it's not Harrison that goes first. It's Malik Neighbors. Neighbors, Harrison, Dudunze. You have Olu Fashanu, another tackle off the board. I know you want to tackle. Brock Bowers goes. Another tackle goes off the board.
Yep. I'm looking at Amarius Mims, and I think that he's going to be available in the 20th.
Graham Barton, another tackle goes. Troy Fatanu, another tackle goes. It's the oh my God, Talisi Fuaga, another tackle goes. Bo Nix, my gosh, Shove it. You got so lucky. That was a tackle run. We had, I think, 6 tackles go there. But at the 20th pick, you are looking at, you said tackle?
Yeah, give me a tackle. Yep, and it's Amarius Mims. I like this guy. He's a Georgia guy. He's got really good footwork and just a bulldozing, Georgia Bulldogs. And we need that right tackle or left tackle, either one of those tackle positions, because Dan Moore Jr. is just not cutting it. And I think this guy can step right in and take Dan Moore Jr.'s job. So he's the tackle that I'm looking to draft. So let's go ahead and draft this guy.
The thing you'll have to remember with Amarius Mims is if you look at his snap alignment in college, he predominantly played right tackle. Dan Moore Jr. plays left tackle, right? You guys have Broderick Jones playing right tackle. Outside looking in, it seems easy to move a left tackle to right tackle or right tackle to left tackle. But the thing with Amarius Mims is he only has 8 starts ever in college. So his sample size is really, really small, but his small sample size is incredible, right? So that's why he's a difficult prospect to evaluate. I do think you could absolutely, I mean, any kid coming into the NFL is going to be like, yes, coach, I will move whatever position you want me to move to play. Now, whether that ends up being the best thing or not, I don't know. But I do think because of the tackle run on the board, Amarius Mims is the best tackle currently on the board. Now, let me just throw you one other thing or I guess 2 other things. I'm going to throw up the receivers, I'm going to throw up the cornerbacks, and I'm going to put the tackles back on the board. So if you just look at it as best player available at the 20th spot, you have Cooper DeJean, who PFF has ranked 9th best player on their mock board. Nate Wiggins still, you still have Amarius Mims, and then you do have Brian Thomas Jr. and A.D. Mitchell, who I know you're a big fan of. So looking at that, do you still feel like Amarius Mims has to be the pick here?
Yeah, I think so, man. It's in terms of your the tackle situation, Broderick Jones is set to play left tackle moving forward next year, and so I think that he's going to be a perfect fit. And with Arthur Smith and the run and gun offense that they're trying to incorporate, I think that he's going to be just that perfect fit that we need. And I get that we need cornerback help, but we have Corey Trice. That's a pick that we had last year, and he's coming off of an injury, so hopefully he can provide some assistance. Like he's going to be the third cornerback. And Dante Jackson, I know I've said that he may not be. He's a guy that's going to be dropped, but I think that cornerback is a position that we can target later on in the draft. For now, we definitely need to get the best tackle available with the 20th pick. So I'm going to go ahead and say Amarius Mims, and that's the guy we should draft.
All right, Amarius Mims, come on down.
Come on down.
All right, so this is where I'm going to speed this up so we don't have to sit here. I'm putting it on turbo. So all of a sudden, we are at the 51st pick in the 2nd round for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We already took a tackle off the board. So now I'm assuming you're going to look at wide receiver, and I'm also going to throw cornerback up there. And oh my, look at these wide receivers.
Look at these wide receivers, man.
You have
Oh
Roman
my
Wilson,
gosh.
Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman, Jalen Polk. I would say then there's a little bit of a drop off there. But where's your head at?
Dude, this is so exciting. Like Roman Wilson, I think he's a great receiver, fast, great, plays great in the zone. But recently I've been reading into Keon Coleman, and I've really, really liked Keon Coleman's. Like, he's got quick hands. Even though he's not the fastest guy, his comp is like Puka Nakua as far as combine goes from last year to this year. So if I'm going to pick one of these receivers, those top 3 guys are great. I'm going to go with Keon Coleman here in the second round.
I think you take Coleman for the upside. Absolutely. But my only fear is fit. I think Keon Coleman, he's not a route running separator, right? He's 11 percentile in terms of single coverage separation in college.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about Pickens. We don't know if he has consistent separation. So yes, I personally think if you take Keon Coleman, you'd have basically 2 George Pickens-esque players, which sounds electrically exciting.
Sounds amazing.
But the reality is there are flaws in Pickens' games. That's why he's not a true number 1.
Right.
So personally, if I'm you,
Roman
you were
Wilson.
staring at 2 guys. Yes, you were staring at one of the best route runners. We talked about his 3-cone drill. Roman Wilson is insane at getting open. And Ricky Pearsall is another guy that I think personally can separate a lot better than Keon Coleman. But you are Omer Khan, not me. You are controlling the Steelers, man. This is what you want to do. So if you want Keon Coleman, we will take Keon Coleman.
We're taking Keon Coleman. Yeah.
Baby, we are swinging for the fences. I love it. All right, Keon Coleman, number 51st pick in the second round. You are a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Let's go.
All right, so now this is the 69th overall pick, which this was part of the initial trade. So this was the 3rd round pick that we got back from the Chargers for the trade up earlier. And excuse me. So we drafted quarterback JJ McCarthy with the number 5 overall pick. Now I'm looking at defensive interior. I'm looking at cornerback, and I'm also looking at wide receiver. I will also throw running back in there, even though I think it's a little too early for running back. The Vikings do need a running back of the future. But right now I am looking at Chris Jenkins, who is defensive tackle from Michigan, played with JJ McCarthy. He is a absolute mauler on the interior. But the other guy that really, really gets me giddy is T'Vondre Sweat. Now, the reason why T'Vondre Sweat gets me giddy is this is a guy that played right next to Byron Murphy Jr. or Byron Murphy II, who is projected as the number 1 or number 2 defensive tackle to go off the board this year. Now, what's weird is these guys were so interchangeable that it felt like at times both of them were really, really dominant. And for some reason, I can't figure out why T'Vondre Sweat is the one that's taking the grunt of the, hey, it was Byron Murphy more so than you. If you look at his PFF grade overall in 2023, he was an absolute beast. He uses a lot of the B gap on the inside, and that's really where the Vikings struggle with the run game. We have Harrison Phillips. We have all these guys that are kind of bodies, but none of them are the big 3 technique nose tackle that's going to, stop the run. And so we need somebody that can plug up the middle because we have those edge rushers now in Grenard and Van Ginkel. So personally, I'm going to reach a little bit and I'm going to take T'Vondre Sweat as opposed to Chris Jenkins here with the 69th overall pick.
Nice. Good pick. Good pick.
All right. That puts you back on the board, Shove it. 84th overall pick. Tell me what positions you want to look at.
All right, let's go with center. Let's see if there's any centers available here.
Interior offensive line.
Oh, there he goes, my guys, right there. I already know who I'm getting. Cedric Van Pran, another Georgia. We're just following with the Eagles.
Dude, you're just following the Georgia.
We have Broderick Jones, also from Georgia. We got Mims, Georgia, and now our center is gonna be from Georgia. Dude, 5 guys from Georgia. Like in that offensive line, it's going to be crazy. But this guy's got good fundamentals, really good pass blocking grade. Run block, I think he's got to work on. He doesn't have the greatest strength, so he's got to work on strength, obviously, but the fundamentals of like not moving his feet too back so he has better leverage on run block situation. I've watched so much offensive lineman highlights this offseason. It's crazy. Like I didn't even know anything about this, but this is a guy I really like. Cedric Van Pran should be a Steeler. We should draft this guy.
I do like addressing needs, and I do like trusting the gurus, and Trevor Sikkema is the guy that runs this PFF mock simulator in terms of his rankings. So really credible source there. So you want Cedric Van Pran coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is he expected to start in year 1? Do you think he's going to supersede Nate Herbig? Yeah.
Probably not. The Steelers are very slow when it comes to starting offensive linemen. Like even Broderick Jones didn't start until I think it was some injury to Okafor, I believe.
Mhm.
So I don't think so. I think they still kind of want to see Nate Herbig in action, and then maybe sometime within the year, week 8, week 9, maybe. But I don't think he'll start right away.
Okay. That puts the Steelers back on the clock in the third round here, Chovit, 98th overall pick. Talk to me about the positions you're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough. I mean, this is like, what is it called? Like crapshoot. Like I have no idea. I mean, I really like Michael Pratt here. Honestly, like he's a guy that is an pretty accurate quarterback. Played for Tulane, but I don't think that the Steelers will address quarterback. I know one of the needs that you'll see up there is quarterback, but we already have 3 quarterbacks in the depth chart, and so I don't think they will do that. Let's go with interior defense. Let's see what we can find. Yeah, here. Um, Interior defense.
What else were you looking at? Did we already address cornerback?
Cornerback. Let's do cornerback as well. And honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the best available here. Jarrian Jones. That's what I see on the top of the list. Not the greatest overall grade as far as 20.
No, he's
90.1. That's
great
good.
Coverage grade, great man coverage grade. So if that's the defense you guys are running with man coverage, he seems like he's very, very sticky.
Yeah, I say let's go ahead and get this guy. This guy seems like could be something. So we need cornerback. We should address it right here.
Let's do it. Jarrian Jones, you are a Pittsburgh Steeler. All right. So the Minnesota Vikings are in the 4th round, pick 108. We already addressed quarterback, and then I took defensive interior with Tavondre Sweat. Now I am looking at wide receiver. I am looking at cornerback, and I am looking at running back. Running back is a big spot here, but before we had drafted Aaron Jones, I kept taking Trey Benson because I really like him from Florida State. I think he's my number 1 running back. But because we have Aaron Jones, I do feel like running back takes a little bit of a backseat. If I'm looking at cornerbacks, one guy that always sticks out to me is Cam Hart. He usually is here around this time. He's a very lengthy cornerback, 6'2", 207. So he's got a lot of size to play outside. Obviously, with bigger size, you're not going to have the same agility and ability to move your hips as much. Mm-hmm. But what's crazy about him is despite having that size, he does play a little bit of nickel as well. I think the true, I guess the way the Vikings defense is going to flow at his best is when Byron Murphy Jr. moves into play nickel, because that's where he's always been his best. And last year we had him play the outside and he wasn't very good. So if we can move Byron Murphy to the nickel, we can go out and get another big outside cornerback, pair him with Shaquille Griffin, who we signed, who's a veteran presence. We still have Mekhi Blackman, who's pretty impressive last year. You still have Andrew Booth Jr. So there's still some bodies there. But I think if we can go out and get a big body to play the outside as depth piece, it really allows Brian Flores to maximize where he gets to put Byron Murphy Jr. And roam those safeties even more that he loves to do. So I'm going to go ahead and take Cam Hart here, cornerback out of Notre Dame with pick 108.
Nice.
You are back on the board. Pick 119 here for the Steelers. They have 3 more picks remaining in this draft. Where are you at?
All right, let's go with let's do safety. Let's do interior defense. This is something that probably gets addressed earlier in the round, just because Cam Hayward, we need a succession plan for Cam Hayward. He's getting older. There's and so Keanu Benton are guys that are there. He did step up, and Montavious Adams. But if I'm looking at a guy, can you click on Leonard Taylor? Let's see what this guy is about.
Yep.
I know you just clicked it. Okay.
So you're looking at a guy who, Leonard Taylor, I watched some of his tape, not a lot of it. When he flashes like he could be a electric player. But the problem is he doesn't flash all the time. Sometimes, you could watch 7 plays in a row and he just kind of is there. But that's kind of what you expect when you're drafting a guy in the 4th round or something, right? You have to have some form of developmental traits that you think you can work on and turn it into some more consistency. And he is a sophomore, so he is a lot younger. But I don't know. It does say they do think he has the talent to be drafted in the top 100 in terms of development. And you are getting him right now at 119. So there definitely is some value there.
Yeah, I say we get the best available right now, based off of PFF. I mean, NFL analytics are gonna, they're gonna have all these other things that they use to analyze these players. But we have this, so let's go ahead and get Leonard Taylor, our succession plan for Cam Hayward.
I like it. I like it. Vikings back up on at the 129 here. 129. I am going to just see what we have in terms of best available. Nobody really jumps out to me in terms of players that I have felt I would want the Vikings to get. Some a little bit more kind of later on down the board here, but we already addressed quarterback. We addressed defensive interior, and I believe I addressed cornerback. So if I'm looking right now, I want to go ahead and look at linebacker. I want to go ahead and look at wide receiver. Wide receiver. Luke McCaffrey is still here. To me, he's going to be a big project developmental guy, so I don't like him in the 4th round. If you can get somebody like that in the 5th or 6th, fantastic. I don't know if he'll still be there. Cedric Gray's another linebacker that I actually really, really liked out of North Carolina. He's got ideal size. I think he's very smart and intelligent, but he does have athletic limitations. But again, you're in the 4th round. You're drafting guys who you think can be plugged in, who can be rotational. Especially, you're also looking at special teams, right? People always often overlook players to come in and fill holes for special teams. You never draft a player only to play the special teams position. I think what's important is you have to pick these players with the hope that they develop into positional players, but you also need players that can contribute in special teams. So to me, right now, I'm going to go ahead and take linebacker Cedric Gray out of North Carolina.
Nice.
All right. That puts me back on the clock at 167 here. 167 has usually been the spot where I go ahead and make this pairing. Drake Nugent, come on down. Who else would I want JJ McCarthy taking snaps from than the guy he took snaps from in college? Garrett Bradbury is not the answer long-term at center. Drake Nugent, come on down. You already have the chemistry. If he can develop into a potential NFL player, I think, that could be a match made in heaven. So this puts the Vikings, again, back on the clock at 177. I still have 3 more picks left here. To me, I'm looking at filling needs. I was talking about Luke McCaffrey earlier. He is still here early in the 6th round, and I'm going to go ahead and take him. Again, Christian McCaffrey's brother. Ran a faster 4.4 than Christian, even though that doesn't mean a ton. Struggles really to get separation. He's not the most athletic. He's not the most physically gifted player either. But I think when you take players this late, a lot of times you're hoping for something, and sometimes the allure of having that last name is enough hope. Yeah. And so I think just having the bloodline of the McCaffreys, having that work ethic, being able to in the offseason be around your brother, not just your brother, but your dad, Ed McCaffrey, there is something in that McCaffrey blood, and I want a part of that, especially in the 6th round. So I'm going to take a look at that.
Get you your Adam Thielen-esque kind of guy.
Bro, you have to. Adam Thielen was undrafted. This guy's the 6th round. Let's go. Let's take it.
All right. I think this is my last pick. The Steelers only have picks up till round 6. And, in terms of what you said about family, I think that's very important. So that's why I want you to search for a guy named Trey Taylor.
Trey Taylor, huh?
Trey Taylor, safety at Air Force. And speaking of family, this guy's cousin is Ed Reed. All right.
What?
Yep. That's the only reason why I want to draft this guy. It's the 6th pick. It's the last pick. If he's any resemblance of Ed Reed, I'm just saying, we got our safety that of the future. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and draft this guy. The Ravens are looking at him as well, of someone that they can draft. They've got the connections to Ed Reed, obviously. And I think that we'll see what this guy can become. So Trey Taylor, my fun last pick of the draft.
Yeah, actually, you have another one in the 6th round. You have 2 6th round picks, but you're coming up in the next bit. But either way, really good overall grades for PFF. Looks like if you look at his snaps by alignment, he plays deep, he plays in the box, he plays in the slot, so he can basically play in lineup anywhere you need him to. Sounds a lot like Ed McCaffrey-esque to me. So, or I'm sorry, Ed Reed-esque to me. So come on down, Trey Taylor. All right, you're back on the board with now your final pick at 195.
All right, let's go. Another offensive line. Let's do that. Let's look for
let's go tackle, interior offensive line.
Okay, that sounds good. And then let's also do linebacker as well. Let's see what we got. Okay,
Steel Chambers.
Dude, it's got the name Steel already.
Yeah, I was gonna say the name Steel. Yeah, with basically Steel Lee, basically with the E, right? So he's only missing 2 letters to feel like he's kind of right at home there.
That's funny. All right, so we're gonna go with, let's see what else we got. Let's just pick the first. Let's just pick the first one. Hunter Nerzad. Yeah, another center. You just want to be safe with that pick. That's definitely a need that they need to address. Yeah.
He played left tackle, or he played left guard in 22 and 21. He played right and left tackle. So clearly this guy can, play
Versatile.
anywhere. Yep. Versatile.
There we go.
All right. We'll take him. Come on down. All right. 2 more picks for me here. 2 picks and 3 picks overall here. So 230 and 232. Again, this is the end of the draft. So there's really not, there's really no sound logic or reasoning behind why you're picking some of these players. I'm just going to look at some positions real quick. Running backs. Nobody really left. Carson Steele, not terrible, but I don't like his overall frame. If you look at cornerbacks, nothing great. You know what? We're just not going to make this complicated. We're going to go ahead and take a running back. We're going to take Isaiah Davis out of South Dakota State. Didn't even watch his tape, but he is there, and we do need to fill the running back position. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a safety, Dominique Hampton. Harrison Smith isn't getting any younger, and we do have safeties in the room, but again, it's nice to throw in an extra body in there. That wraps it up, Shobit. Are you ready to see our grades? Are you ready to see our grades? God, it already looks disgusting. I see that yellow ass C, and I'm not happy about it.
I'm sure I got an F for Trey Taylor.
All right, here we go. So the Minnesota Vikings, we started out by trading up. We got JJ McCarthy. We took Devondre Sweat in the third round. They gave us a B. Cam Hart in the 4th, C+. My God. Cedric Gray in the 4th, C. Drake Nugent in the 5th round, B-. Luke McCaffrey, C. God, PFF hated my draft. Isaiah Davis, B-. And Dominique Hampton, B+. Overall draft grade, C+. And I think that's largely because they hate taking JJ McCarthy at the 5th overall spot. But if I'm the Vikings, I would be ecstatic with this draft. Let's look over with the Steelers. My God, Chubb.
Oh my gosh. Look at me killing it. Look at that.
All right. Give us your recap here.
Yeah, dude. Amarius Mims got a tackle first round, A- grade. Let's go. Got a Georgia Bulldog. Keon Coleman could be an elite wide receiver, A- there in the 2nd round. I got a center. That was a need that needed to be met, and Cedric Van Pran, a B. I'll take that. Jarian Jones, cornerback, also a need as well, an A-. That's
solid.
That is solid. In the 3rd round, 98th pick. I'm telling you, if we get the top 4 right in the top 98 picks, it's going to be looking really good next year. Defense interior, Leonard Taylor, 3rd. Yeah, I just picked the best available, C+. And as I thought, Trey Taylor, cousin of Ed Reed, a solid F. F for fantastic. And then
we need to reach out to Trevor Sikkema and see why the mock draft simulator doesn't incorporate the lineage of these players, because I think he would get a better grade if the mock draft simulator understood that this guy was cousins with Ed Reed.
Yeah, exactly. And then last pick, B+, awesome. Pick the best available center, Hunter Nurzad. I don't know anything about this guy, but he was the best available based on PFF grades. So yeah, B. All right, man. I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah, Homer Khan is going to go home a happy man. Quasi, on the other hand, I guess time will tell. PFF doesn't like it, but a lot of times, PFF isn't always right. So that is the mock draft. Again, in this world, JJ McCarthy becomes a Minnesota Viking. He is presumably the quarterback of the future. I don't know if he starts right away. I think there's a world where probably Sam Darnold is starting and JJ is just sitting behind him and learning. But with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you come in and you get a tackle immediately in the 1st round of Amarius Mims. You are able to, like you said, slide Broderick Jones over to the left side. Mims steps in and plays the right tackle spot. You have protection for Russell Wilson. And then you got Keon Coleman in the 2nd round to pair with George Pickens. If I'm you, I would say that the Steelers probably hit the home run of the draft. Whereas for me, the Vikings are in a situation where we're going to have to reach for the quarterback, where I think whether we like it or not, unless one of the big guys falls, and we don't know about that yet. So otherwise, I see a world where this is the reality of the situation. You're going to have to go up and get your quarterback, whether you're going to get dinged for it or not on any draft chart. So that is the mock draft simulator. It's always fun to play around with that. I like that they always update it. When you hear rumors and news and, JJ McCarthy's, you're climbing up draft boards. The next day you go on here and all of a sudden the predictive mocks have McCarthy going ahead of, a lot of other people. So that's what I really appreciate about that. It is really, really good in terms of real time.
Hey, it's what's interesting is we sped up the draft right after the Vikings pick, and guess who was the 6th pick? Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison. So PFF, they're seeing something here too. So
yeah, man, I will be stamping that as long as I can until Marvin Harrison Jr. becomes the better prospect and in the pros. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. But till then, I will die on the Malik Neighbors hill. That is the mock draft. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We don't know what we're going to do here with the next 3 weeks before the draft comes out, but we still have some exciting content for you. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps spread the word. You can listen to us on any place you get your podcast platform. Follow us on socials, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at The Only Playbook. I am Sweetheart. That is Shobit. We are The Only Playbook. Have a fantastic day.